This episode of Nuff Said is brought to you by Tweaked Audio. To get awesome headphones, go to tweakedaudio.com and use the coupon code SOUTHGATE to get 30% off, free shipping, and a lifetime warranty. Or you can get there through the link on our website, southgatemediagroup.com.
There are heroes and there are devils. But what is the sound of one devil on your shoulder? What is the sound of a devil you know? Hi, heroes, and welcome once again. Welcome once again to the Devil You Knows. I am your host, Charlie, the Professor Esser, and with me, as always, is my slender, opulent friend.
It's Mozz.
Hey, Mozz, welcome back. And tonight's episode, Season 3, Episode 8, Upstairs, Downstairs. A desperate Dex reaches out for help. Matt forms an uneasy alliance with Agent Nadine, and Karen concocts a dangerous plan to provoke Fisk.
Mm-hmm.
Our director this week is Alex Zakraszewski. Yeah, we'll go along with that. Alex Zakraszewski. It's Zakrzdewski. The Zewski I can do. The Zach I can do. The R in the middle, have no idea where that goes. Stan Lee and Bill Everett, of course, are our Marvel guys who made all of this possible. And, of course, Drew Goddard created this whole mess. Dana Resnick gets a written by credit this week. Tanya Kong, the Queen Kong herself, still our story editor, and unsung, uncredited, hardest working woman in show business, Sarah Streicher. Keep on plugging away, Sarah. You'll get there eventually, our staff writer.
Your day will come.
Yes, sadly uncredited. Uncredited, which makes you wonder how IMDb even knows about her. Like, they had to do some deep dive research. She doesn't got a credit, but man, let me tell you, she was the staff writer the whole time.
She has a good publicist.
Yeah, well, you know, you need one.
Or maybe one who's doing good damage control at least.
Let me try to remember how this episode starts. How does it start?
I think it's Dex coming home in his Daredevil car and then listening to his tapes while vacuuming, which I think is great.
Oh, yes, because he has to clean up the house and has to get it back in order and neat in order. Dex is having a rough time. And man, I gotta say, it's like, here's one thing you can say about the Kingpin. He is a sentimentalist.
How so?
Oh, because Dex is the loosest thread.
Mm-hmm.
And after Dex did what he did, I would, if I was a cruel, merciless mafia boss, said, okay, you served your purpose, and now I'm going to remove you from the board.
See, I don't know. I don't think he's a sentimentalist at all. I think he's simply really good at manipulating people as the pawns that they are, according to his worldview. And that's all he's doing with him. He continues to make him manageable. Every time he seems to have a lifeline to sort of be back to normalcy, he cuts it off right at the knees and makes sure he sort of molds this person's psyche as he wants it, as it would be beneficial to him, because his skill set is very, very valuable. And he's probably better at it than anybody he can find. And if he can just harness this guy's potential, I think he feels he can turn him into something that he can have use for.
Yeah, but I guess what I will say is that level of cultivation, because I'm just going to say Dex is not an easy guy to work with. I mean, yes, he is 100%. No. He is 100% the potential. But I think that what Kingpin sees in him is I think as much as Dex wants a father figure, I think Kingpin wants to be a father figure. I think he wants to be a guy who gets to guide someone and sort of guide him towards what he sees as, you know, because again, going back to what I said before, where I do think Kingpin sees himself as the hero. I think he is back in seeing himself as I am the one saving the city. I think to him, the idea of building Dex up as his own right hand, his own personal superhero, is very much what he's looking for. And again, I think that, so, as an example, in the comics, you have characters like Man Mountain Marco, who is basically a loyal mafia soldier who gets some super steroids and gets super strong so that he can go punch Spider-Man and have Spider-Man feel it. I mean, he always gets defeated by Spider-Man, but he holds his own against Spider-Man. And that's what he was created for. And if Kingpin just wanted a soldier, within the context of the universe we're existing in, he could just make a soldier. I think he wants something more than a soldier. I think he wants a family member. I think that's how, because like I said, I mean, Dex is a real loose cannon. He is a loose thread. He is something that could go real south real fast because all he needs is someone randomly to reach out to him. The reality is, I think that had Nadeem not gone along with Daredevil, I think in that moment when they're distracting Dex with the whole "here's your lawyer," we all got together, I think in that moment Dex could have totally been turned.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
Because he said, there are people that care about me. I'm not alone. And then just have it be the betrayal. It just reiterates everything that Fisk has told him. No one appreciates you for who you are. No one cherishes you for who you are. You are... It's like him to say, it's like, you ever see Young Frankenstein?
I have not.
You have not seen Young Frankenstein?
I know.
Oh, there's a great scene where Gene Wilder is Frankenstein, or as young Frankenstein, the young doctor, and he's with the monster, and he's like, just has to sort of deal with, like, he got locked in with the monster, and then he just sort of like goes into this whole thing about, hey you, how are you? And look at you, the strong, the broad shoulders, the strong brow. Talk about your Olympian ideals. And it's like, just sort of, selling to him how awesome he is, and it's just like, I think that's what Fisk does to his monster. Essentially plays to this idea that you aren't a monster. You are beautiful.
Yeah, no, but see, I think what he's saying to him is, you are beautiful because you are the monster.
Well, I mean, that's certainly another way to take it. Yeah. The monster is beautiful too. Yeah.
Right. That's what he's trying to say to him. Don't try to. It's like what the Joker says to Batman. He goes, "Don't act like you're one of them. You're not one of them. You're a freak like me."
Yeah.
And in the same way, I feel like he also tells like these stories to gain people's emotional trust, but I don't think very many of them are true. I think some of them might have some element of truth in it, but they're all designed to elicit an emotional reaction from whoever he's talking to.
Yes, and this is where we actually, I believe, get the story of the hammer.
I don't know how much of that is true. I think half of it could be made up. Is there any corroboration?
I think all of it could be made up. Although it's an interesting thing, because since again, Karen seeking to pin his father's murder on him comes back, it does make me wonder if that hammer does exist. But even if it doesn't, the idea that is, again, like I said last episode, I think there's this quality on Fisk where he's saying, when I killed my father, I was being a hero. And you think about a guy like the Punisher, I mean, honestly, if the Punisher was out there murdering child abusers, or was out there murdering wife abusers, or anyone like that, I think that the story gets a little more complex. Like,
Right.
when you move it away from the mythos of criminality, I think that we all go like, well, okay, that's something we can agree with. That someone should be out there shooting people that are beating children and beating their spouses and being generally abusive.
Right.
Which actually isn't true either. You shouldn't, because that is why heroes do have that "we do not kill" motto. Because once you start killing, you lose your perspective on what it is you're really doing.
Right. But there's a whole lot of room between that and killing that.
Well, yeah, that's what Daredevil does. It's like,
Right.
hey,
Exactly.
you ain't dead.
There's a whole lot of room in that gray area.
Yeah, you may not walk, but you can roll.
Yeah. I'm just gonna make sure that you are able to remember this beating. That's all.
Well,
That's the courtesy you're gonna get.
Yeah, well, I mean, not for nothing. I mean, Daredevil has dropped people off buildings. I mean,
Right.
and I think Nadeem makes the point that there are a lot of FBI agents that aren't dead that the real Daredevil fought, who are in the hospital right now.
Right.
Because that's the truth of it, is that Daredevil is beating people up as much as he's going to, as much as he has to.
Right.
One of the scenes that really gets me in this is it is such a strange scene for its emotional power, but how minuscule it's made, is when they kill...
It's Julie, right?
Yeah, that's Julie. That's Julie just totally popped.
Right,
and we only see it through a video
fast.
monitor.
Like, you have to ask yourself, was that Julie? And you're like, yeah, it was, right?
Well, yeah, because clearly it is, because then we see when Dex is trying to reach out to her. Because, of course, we start off with Dex sort of trying to make amends. And basically saying, look, I know, basically saying, look, I know I was stalking you, but I want you to know it's not about stalking you. It's not like, oh, I need to be with you, you're the only one. It's like, no, I wanted to be like you. I wanted to understand how to be a better human being. I'm just asking you to be the person on the other end of the line for me, because that's what I need. I need to talk to someone. Which is such in its own way, a beautiful way to present this very creepy behavior. But then when the Kingpin basically offs Julie, because obviously she is a very loose thread. And it's done in such an unceremonious way.
And she doesn't fit into his plan of developing Dex into a useful asset.
Yeah, and you see that all the way down the line when Dex is trying to reach out to her, and it's like your number has been blocked.
Right.
Yeah, it's pretty manipulative, and it is a very very supervillain quality that we do see from Kingpin here. We do get Nadeem and Matt breaking into Dex's apartment.
Yeah, one thing I gotta say is, like, I didn't take Nadeem to be able to pull that off as well as he did when Dex walks in and he has to be like, hey, I'm on your side, buddy. He played that surprisingly well. It was maybe a little almost out of character, I thought,
Well, I mean, not for nothing. I think Nadeem is a capable FBI agent. Certainly has his protagonist armor on.
Sorry, I don't understand.
Never underestimate protagonist armor. But he does it as best as he can. Although he still takes some, and honestly, that's my favorite thing in this whole thing is when Dex is taking the crystals off the chandelier before he goes in.
Yeah, that was just super cool.
That is just such a bullseye thing to do, and I really appreciated that. And I just thought it was awesome.
Yeah.
And so it's all pretty cool and pretty awesome in the way that they approach it.
Yeah, the one thing I thought they would highlight, and maybe they'll do this forward, but isn't there a camera in Dex's apartment through which Kingpin's been watching him? So wouldn't Kingpin have been able to see Matt and this guy and Nadeem break into Dex's apartment?
I mean, theoretically, yes. What I guess what one can certainly say is that there seems to be cameras everywhere.
Oh, that's true.
I don't know
Yeah.
if he was actually had a camera in Dex's apartment.
Huh.
Because all the cameras that we've seen Kingpin have access to seem to be cameras that are actual cameras, like security cameras that are just out there in the open that he can access, rather than hidden cameras that people don't know are in their apartments.
I see.
So I don't know if he could see in Dex's apartment. I mean, it could be bugged. It could be wiretapped.
Yeah. I love that he was ricocheting the bullet. That's super cool.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, that's what you got to do with Bullseye. That's his shtick. It's like, he always hits his mark, and he is just like he is just a sure shot. He is like Deadshot. If you remember him from the old Batman comics. It's funny character. You mostly know him with like that spandex suit with the like one eye. His actual original costume was actually a tuxedo and a top hat.
Huh.
And he was just like, he just had like the 2 6 guns on his side. He was just a guy in a top hat. He was just a great shootist. Yes. His original storyline is he wants to be the new Batman and sort of take Batman's place as the defender of Gotham, but then sort of be running his own protection racket that was his whole scam. So yeah, that was Deadshot. But then of course Bullseye is of course Marvel Universe's Deadshot. Though somehow a little crazier than Deadshot and using things that aren't necessarily guns. Just preternatural aim no matter what he has in his hands.
Right. I think that's a little bit cooler.
It is a little bit cooler. I mean, I'm not going to deny it. I mean, honestly, the fact that Bullseye started out as a baseball pitcher who basically murdered people with beanballs is, to me, one of my favorite things about the history of Bullseye. Although my absolute favorite thing that Bullseye ever did was during the Marvel Universe DC crossover, like when they did the big like multi-storyline event that eventually led to Amalgam, is he winds up in the Batcave, and basically Batman throws a batarang and he just catches it, and he's like, "What is this supposed to be?" It's just a great moment for Bulls. He of course gets beaten up by Batman, of course, as you do.
Right.
But
right.
but it's just that idea of just he catches a batarang as Bullseye does. He catches a club, he catches whatever you throw at him, he's gonna catch it. Because he's really good at what he does. Which is funny because it does strike you that had this guy actually had a loving family, he would have just been like the world's greatest baseball player and be making millions and millions of dollars, winning World Series every year.
Yeah, I don't know. I think a person like that, it's like on a precarious ladder with like missing rungs. It's gonna happen eventually,
Well, yeah, I mean that is certainly the case. Like in that universe, he may be basically it comes down to whether or not he actually gets whether or not he ever gets that North Star. So you could have him meet that Julie as essentially if he's living that Derek Jeter lifestyle.
Hello?
Yeah, yes, I can hear you, Mozz. Can you still hear me? Mozz, can you hear me? I don't know what's going on. I can hear you just fine.
Hey, there you go. There you go.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, I have no idea what's going on with that.
Sorry.
But if he's living a Derek Jeter lifestyle with just a different woman every night, he is eventually gonna be killing one of those ladies. But if he gets himself that Julie,
but even if he has a loving family, there's going to be somebody steps on his shoe and it's going to bubble up, especially if he's been tamping it down,
Well, I mean, but again, it goes to how powerless does he feel? The lashing out, it's always a system of, it's always about being powerless. Now, in the original story, it's a guy that kept on getting hits off of him, and then he decides to beat him because no one got a hit off of him. And when this guy got hits off of him, he decides to just beat him and kill the guy. So that is, that's the quality there. But I don't know. Here's the thing. I think that just because he's a sociopath doesn't mean he couldn't be a good person. And I think that's actually the real story of Bullseye in this thing, is that he can be a good person. He just never gets the opportunity to really have someone sort of guide him towards being good.
I feel like that's an excuse. I feel like, he's had tons of opportunities. He's never availed them ever. And we're going to just turn a blind eye to say he never had opportunities. I think he's had opportunity after opportunity. And I think eventually you've got to find a way to, make your own footing. And he hasn't.
Well, I mean,
and I think that
well, I guess what you can say is, as his doctor did, he said, look, you're going to get a job, where you can be a killer for good people. Here's what I'll say is, like, had he been an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., I think he would have been just fine. Had someone else manipulated him for a better cause, he would have been just fine. The problem is that he winds up on Kingpin's radar, and, But like I said, that is the interesting aspect of this. And again, one of the things, because I don't want to talk too much all night, because we are running a little long here. But there's so much to talk about. I mean, that's the thing, is there's so many characters, so many things to talk about. We do have Foggy. He's got his master plan, where basically, Kingpin has violated his own terms of service, or he's violated his plea deal, because he's manipulating this other guy who was the accountant for the Albanians and yada yada. And this is a really solid case that Foggy can do, but Karen wants to go. And it's an interesting aspect of it when Foggy really confronts her after the fact, which is, do you think she was hoping Kingpin would kill her on film?
Or at least try. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean...
But he calls her out on being a ball hog.
Well, yeah, he definitely... I mean, Foggy certainly does. But I guess part of my question is do you think that Karen was essentially trying to do suicide by Kingpin?
I think she would have been okay with it. I don't think that was like essentially the goal. I think, but if it happened, I don't think she would have been mad, kind of deal. Because
it reminds me. You remember? I think it was like episode 2 or 3, where Daredevil, he's out and fighting the guys, and he realizes he can't beat them, and he just says, "Okay, fine, kill me."
Yeah.
And he's just like, if he can't be the hero, he'd rather just be murdered.
Or if you're gonna die anyway, might as well go out, fighting.
Well, but it's not fighting when it's like, okay, kill me.
Right, but there's a safety blanket in the fact that you were in a fight when you went.
Yeah, exactly. And again, like I said, I'm not sure that's 100% the case. I'm not sure that's where they're.
Like, even if you stand up and go out in the hail of gunfire and you put your gun down and you get shot, you were in a gunfight when you went. You didn't die of old age. You didn't die because you twisted your ankle and it got infected or blah, blah, blah,
Yeah, but at the same time, once you put down your gun, you're saying, I accept that I'm going to die. And I guess, to me, there's not too much difference between that and suicide. And I think that when you make that choice, especially when you're Karen Page, and you're going to confront the Kingpin, and your entire purpose is to provoke him to a violent act, and knowing that, yes, Kingpin could snap her like a twig. Because not for nothing, she's a twiggy girl.
Yeah, well, I mean, she readily admits to the murder of Wesley,
yeah, she admits to it to him.
And she sees the cameras before she makes that statement, so she maybe has given into, like, this is the end.
Well, she doesn't, but she doesn't know way that it's not on camera.
She looks at the camera before she says it.
Yeah, she looks at the camera before she says it, but then her back is to the camera. She sees where the camera is, so they can't read her lip. And she leans in and she whispers it to him. He hears it, but the cameras don't. Oh. And that is, it's very strategic exactly what she does. She's very much manipulating the scene in the same way that the Kingpin would,
Right.
In the same way that all these unstable people do, they're trying to assess what they're looking at and deal with what they're looking at and then try to turn it to their advantage.
Yeah.
And for Karen in this moment, she is trying to get Kingpin, I think, to kill her. I think to her, she would rather be dead because here's the thing. Here's the thing that I think is maybe the real dark legacy of the whole concept is if she died at the hand of Kingpin, then she has died at the hand of Kingpin. That the story ends, and her story ends, and she's gotten her revenge by now Kingpin has to go to jail for murdering her.
Right.
But at the end of the day, that is just a suicidal fantasy. It's like, anytime someone wants to commit suicide and they say, well, don't miss me when I'm gone. It's
right.
Yeah, for a week, maybe some people may miss you longer than that. But the fact of the matter is when you commit suicide from that perspective, it is in its own way a kind of a selfish choice. And it is this hope that you'll gain the recognition that you feel you never got in life. But, it assumes no one else moves on with their life because your life has ended. And in some ways, I guess that's kind of the point. It's like your life has ended and you are imagining that everyone's life ends when your life ends. It's its own way, a real form of narcissism. But
right, it's almost interesting in a way that Matt is trying to kill Matt Murdock, and she's trying to kill Karen Page. It'd be nice if she had another personality to step into.
Exactly. Well,
maybe she should be like a superhero.
Maybe she should. Well, interestingly enough, in the recent Marvel Knights series, she actually does get sort of a super heroic alter ego as Karen Page's ghost. It's a complex story, but yeah, it's a thing. Yeah. But it is interesting how it all plays out. But yeah, we also at the end of this we
get
have
Dex sort of burning his tapes, which I thought was like symbolic of shedding his old skin or any futile attempts at trying to fit into society any longer, and just saying I am who I am.
Well, I think that was, that is very much a quality of it. I think that another quality of it is that he wants to that on some level he feels he has to destroy the tapes because the tapes are incriminating. But in doing so, he's also now removing his lifeline to his stability.
Right, because I think it's because he's tired of fighting for it because it's never been fun. It's always been a problem. It's always been, wearing braces.
Yeah, but I think at the same time, it's also just the fact that he thinks Julie has abandoned him. Because I think when the break-in happens, he tries to reach out to her and she doesn't want to talk, or he thinks she doesn't want to talk to him. It is just him saying, I will not, since I cannot have a North Star, I don't need these anymore. And I will embrace my own darkness, which is not actually a positive outcome. It is him embracing his own darkness, but yeah, it is also falling into that darkness.
Right, but I think that's where he's recognizing he wants to be. So to him, it's like a returning home kind of thing. This is where I've always been meant to be, and I've been trying to veer off course for so long, and it hasn't been very successful. Obviously Kingpin sort of had a lot to do with shaping the narrative, But
Yeah.
be that as it may, I think it's well, it's hard to say whether it's a good move or not because it's obviously not good, but it's liberating, you know?
Yeah. I mean, well, then that's what it is. Although we also see that clearly Daredevil kept a tape.
Right. Because he wants to do the same thing Kingpin was doing, understand the man so he could understand how to make him fit into his plan.
Well, exactly. Although, we do get our big revelation.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Fans of Daredevil saw this coming, but
But did she see it coming? She goes up there and she starts talking like Matt can't hear her. Or did she know that he would hear her?
I mean, that's the $6 million question. Obviously, you never know how good his hearing is, and not for nothing. Throughout this series, this season, it has been hit and miss.
Mm-hmm. But Sister Maggie's no dummy.
No, she is no dummy. And I also found it very interesting that she's not praying to God; she's praying to Jack.
Yeah.
And I'll say that is a very Catholic thing. You reach out to the. This is actually why Catholicism got so much play among. Why Catholicism worked well with a lot of native cultures throughout history, and why Voodoo and Santeria relate so closely to Catholicism, because Catholicism has this long history of reaching out to local spirits, rather than, I mean, there are the saints and there are the God. Well, there's the saints and the angels, and then of course God. But the idea that you could reach out to your cousin Vinny as just as much a spiritual being as a saint, and maybe cousin Vinny can talk to a saint, and then that saint can talk to an angel, and that angel can talk to God. That's something that, of course, existed in most cultures throughout the world at a certain point. And so it's a very Catholic thing to do that comes out a little strange, but yeah, he hears his mom basically admit to something. Now, I guess there's this deeper question in all that, which is like, really? So, well, the entire time that Matt was at this school, she never once prayed in this way.
Right.
But yeah, I guess desperate times. But
right.
It's a shock, yeah.
Yeah, like this whole time, my mom was right there, but you let me skulk around and think I didn't have a mom? How dare you?
It's messed up. There's no argument there. It is a messed up choice that his mom made. I think at the end of the day, there are these choices. It's one of these situations where, and I think we do get a lot of backstory on it, and you realize why she kind of left, and then you kind of get in this spot where you realize that because you told that first lie, there's no way to get out of that lie without it seeming like you are so horrible. And the longer it goes, the worse it gets. There's no way that if you don't come clean right away with a lie like that, you never can. And I think that, and I think maybe there's even a side aspect of this, since you bring it up, that maybe she knew he could hear her.
Right.
That this was her way to admit it without actually having to confront him with the admission. Basically giving herself some kind of plausible deniability.
Yeah, or at least a little bit of distance, enough for him to deal with the anger of it separate from her and come to her when he's sort of had at least a little bit of time to gather his thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, it's getting intense, and there's a lot going on, and we're at the halfway point. This is a full 13 episodes, and we're at episode 8, so we've got 5 more episodes to go.
Right on.
Any final thoughts on this episode, Mozz?
No, I'm sort of more interested than anything else in seeing how Dex turns out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm interested to see, because he doesn't know Julie's dead yet. And which made me think, like, when he walks him past Julie's murder scene, like, what? He goes, oh, it's been here? What is he talking about? What does he mean?
Well, he means that this is something he knew was in the hotel. So he knew they were doing this work in the hotel. He didn't realize what they were working on was connecting the.
Wait, so he killed Julie at the hotel? I thought he killed Julie at her own apartment when
I
she
think.
walked
Well,
in.
no,
She walked
actually,
in like
I
she owned the
think.
place.
I mean, it's possible. She still works in the hotel, so it's possible she
Oh,
was.
that's right. She works in the hotel.
Yeah, so it's entirely possible she was. I mean, I
Right,
always thought it
right,
was in her
right.
apartment too, and there was just work being done in her apartment. But I guess now that you bring it up, yeah, she probably did it. She was probably in the hotel, probably going to the locker room to get her uniform on, and they plugged her. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Man, what a crazy, evil, dark thing that he walks him through the point where he killed his
yeah.
North Star, his love interest, whatever, and then hugs him and then completely subdues him. Wow,
Yeah.
wow,
Well, that's the kingpin for you. He's not a nice person.
man, oh man.
Just you probably think he's not a very nice person. Yeah, I mean it is dark and twisted and delightful in its own way as well.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, Maz, if people would like to reach out to you, talk to you about all this stuff and all the things that all likewise interest them in you, how can they do so?
Or they can email me at mozzmanzor@gmail.com or find me on Facebook under Mozz Manzor. That's MOZZMANZOOR.
Bing! Look for the two Z's in the middle for quality. And of course, you can always write to me in an old-fashioned email way. The way our Maz and Paws once did, as certainly Jack and Maggie once did when they were young lovers in the, I guess, maybe 80s or something, on AOL Text Messenger. Um, you can always write to me at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, @gmail.com. Of course, follow me on the Twitters as I live tweet all kinds of shows. The Good Place, not the Good, well, The Good Place. Actually, I love The Good Place, but also Miracle Workers, the new show on TBS with Daniel Radcliffe and Steve Buscemi. So right there, how are you not watching this show? And
Oh, that's what Miracle Worker is. I've been meaning to check that out. I've heard good things about that.
oh, it is so good. Even I made Tristan watch it with me, and he was like, at first he was like, oh, I don't want to. So it's like he likes it, then he gets a little sad because there's thing that happens in the middle, and then he's like, oh, this is great. So yeah, it's a good show. I'm really excited about it, and I live tweeted it, and because it was on at 10:30 at night on a Wednesday. And no one else was there. I got like 6 likes from the producers of the show, so yay me! Yeah, I'm gonna have to get see if I can get Steve Buscemi on the show. Anyway, but yes, if you'd like to do that while I'm tweeting, you can follow me on the Twitters at Charlie Esser. That's CHARLIESSER. Look for the 2 E's in the middle.
Ping!
For quality. Oh, and dear listeners, that has been the sound of One Devil on Your Shoulder. Trust always that it's the devil you know. Good night.